By the 7 moons of Jurathal, what is that? I screeched, pointing my primary appendage at the small creature currently demolishing our food replicator. Zorblex, my utterly incompetent crew member, had the audacity to look proud. It's a specimen from Earth. Cute, right? The locals call them kids or children. This particular variety is approximately 6 Earth rotations old. I felt my chromatophores flash danger red across my epidermis. That's not a specimen, you absolute space barnacle. That's a juvenile human. You kidnapped an offspring of the most terrifying species in the known galaxy. The human child turned toward us, its face smeared with synthesized nutrition paste, and smiled with its tiny, blunt teeth. Horrifying. Hi, I'm Tommy. Your spaceship is super cool. Can I press more buttons? The creature bounced on its stubby lower limbs, demonstrating why humans were known across the cosmos for their inexhaustible energy reserves. Zorblex waved all 3 of his eye stalks in confusion. But Captain Vexnar, humans are classified as a pre-FTL civilization. They are just primitive bipeds who spend most of their time watching moving images and arguing about them on their global information network. Hardly dangerous. I grabbed Zorblex by his respiratory siphon and pulled him close. Have you even read the Galactic Scout report on humans? They are classified as Deathworlders. Their planet is a radiation-soaked disaster with crushing gravity, corrosive atmosphere, and temperature swings that would kill most sentient species. These creatures evolved to survive that. The child Tommy had somehow managed to climb onto our navigation console and was pressing buttons with unrestrained glee. Red button. Green button. Blue button. Tommy announced with each press, cackling maniacally. Our ship lurched violently to starboard. And now we are off course, I muttered, rushing to recalibrate our trajectory. Zorblex, watch the human while I fix this. How dangerous can one small human be? Zorblex asked, his voice dripping with skepticism. I wanted to liquefy his organs with my I-beams. Unfortunately, my species doesn't have I-beams. Major evolutionary oversight, if you ask me. Tommy, please come down from there, Zorblex said with the exact wrong tone, one that suggested compliance was optional. No, Tommy responded, understanding perfectly that Zorblex was a pushover. I'm a spaceman now. Pew. Pew. He formed his fingers into what I recognized with horror as a simulation of a projectile weapon. Humans have an innate understanding of weapons, despite having no natural defenses. I hissed at Zorblex. They are born knowing how to kill. You are being xenophobic, Zorblex replied, his membranes fluttering with disapproval. Look at its adorable face covering. Those are artificial fibers depicting Earth's apex predators, dinosaurs, I believe. I finally managed to stabilize our course and turned my attention to the disaster unfolding in our command center. Zorblex, this isn't a debate about human cultural aesthetics. You have violated at least 17 interplanetary treaties by removing this creature from Earth. The penalties for child snatching are severe, but that's nothing compared to what the humans will do if they track us down. But they can't track us, Zorblex said confidently. They don't have FTL technology. Oh, really? I pointed to Tommy, who had pulled a small rectangular device from his pocket and was tapping on it. What do you think that is? Zorblex squinted. Some primitive entertainment device? It's a communication device, you nitwit. Humans have globally linked networks. They are constantly broadcasting their location. They are probably already tracking him. As if to confirm my fears, Tommy proudly held up the device. I'm making a TikTok about aliens. My video is going to get so many views. What's a TikTok? Zorblex asked. It's how humans share information instantaneously across their planet. I shrieked, my voice modulating to the panic frequency. They are obsessed with documentation. That device is probably broadcasting our location to every military installation on Earth right now. Tommy looked up from his device with wide eyes. Are you guys going to get in trouble? My dad's a Marine, and he says if anyone ever takes me, he will find them, and the child made a slicing motion across his throat that required no translation. This was exactly what I'd feared. The human child belonged to a warrior caste. We were doomed. Zorblex, prepare the return pod immediately, I commanded, trying to maintain some semblance of authority despite my rapidly deteriorating composure. We need to return this human to exactly where you found it before. Our ship's alarm system blared to life, red lights flashing throughout the command center. Incoming transmission announced our ship's computer in its frustratingly calm voice. Already? That's impossible. They can't have found us this quickly, Zorblex said, his confidence finally beginning to crack. The main view screen activated, revealing a human female with piercing eyes and a severe expression. Her hair was pulled back tightly, and she wore what appeared to be a military uniform adorned with various insignia of authority. "Attention, unidentified spacecraft," she said coldly. "This is Admiral Harrington of the Earth Defense Force. Our sensors have detected one of our juveniles aboard your vessel. Return the child immediately, or we will be forced to take action." I felt my third heart stop beating temporarily. "Earth Defense Force?" I whispered. "Humans don't have an organized space military. They are pre-FTL." The Admiral's mouth curved upward slightly at the corners in what humans call a smile, though this version contained no warmth. "That's what we wanted you to think. We have been observing your civilizations for decades. Return Tommy Parker within 12 Earth hours, unharmed, or discover exactly how we have remained unconquered despite hundreds of alien incursions throughout our history." The transmission ended. I turned slowly to face Zorblex, who had turned a sickly shade of gray. "They were hiding their technological advancement," he whispered. "Just like the Zerulean deception of the Third Epoch." "Worse," I replied. "The humans have been allowing alien observers to believe they are primitive while secretly building interstellar defense capabilities. They have been preparing for war this entire time." Tommy, seemingly oblivious to the existential crisis he'd created for us, had found our food synthesizer and was programming it to create something called ice cream. "Can we go home now?" Tommy asked, licking a frozen substance from his fingers. "I have got soccer practice at 4 and coach gets really mad if anyone's late." "Yes, small human, we are taking you home immediately," I said, trying to sound calm despite the terror coursing through all 5 of my circulatory systems. "Cool. Can I keep this?" He held up what appeared to be our quantum fluctuation regulator. Somehow, he'd removed a critical component of our propulsion system without triggering any alarms. "Humans are natural engineers," I whispered to Zorblex. "They can disassemble any technology simply by touching it." Zorblex's eye stalks drooped in terror. "I have doomed us all." "Not yet," I replied, kneeling down to Tommy's level. "Small human, if we return you to Earth quickly and safely, do you think you could convince your military not to obliterate our species?" Tommy considered this while crunching on a piece of our navigation console he'd apparently snapped off. "Maybe. What's in it for me? It can negotiate." Zorblex gasped. "At 6 Earth rotations." "Of course it can negotiate," I snapped. "Humans are born traitors. It's how they have spread their influence so rapidly across their planet." I turned back to Tommy. "What would you like in exchange for our lives?" Tommy thought for a moment, his small face scrunching in concentration. "I want a real alien blaster, and a space pet, and candy that makes you float." "We can discuss terms," I said quickly. "But first we need to contact your Earth Defense Force and let them know we are returning you." "Oh, that wasn't real," Tommy said casually, returning to his ice cream. "That was just my Aunt Jessica. She works at a TV studio. I called her when you guys weren't looking and asked her to pretend to be a space admiral. She does voice acting for cartoons." I froze, all 6 of my limbs locking in place. "What?" "Yeah, I thought it would be funny." Tommy giggled. "You guys were so scared. Your faces looked like this." He contorted his features into an exaggerated expression of terror. Zorblex and I exchanged bewildered glances. So Earth doesn't have an interstellar defense force? Zorblex asked cautiously. Nope, Tommy replied cheerfully. I should have felt relief, but something didn't add up. But how did your Aunt Jessica appear on our communication screen? Our technology isn't compatible with Earth systems. Tommy shrugged. I dunno. I just pressed buttons until something worked. The implications were horrifying. This human child had intuitively interfaced with alien technology within minutes of boarding our ship. If this was what their offspring could do without training, what were adult humans capable of? We need to return him immediately, I whispered to Zorblex, and then scrub all evidence we were ever near Earth. Agreed, Zorblex replied, his voice trembling. Prepare the return pod, I ordered, and pray to whatever cosmic entities you believe in that no other humans have noticed his absence. As Zorblex scurried off to prepare for Tommy's return to Earth, I watched the small human continue to dismantle our technology with terrifying efficiency. You know, Tommy said, looking up at me with those unnervingly intelligent eyes, my dad doesn't really like it when I wander off. I imagine not, I replied carefully. Yeah. Last time I got lost at the mall, he called all his Marine buddies, and they shut down the whole building until they found me. Tommy licked his ice cream thoughtfully. Dad says he'd tear the world apart to find me. I felt a chill run through my exoskeleton. Well, we are taking you back now, so there's no need for world tearing. Tommy nodded. That's good, 'cause I think my dad would be really mad if he knew aliens took me. He looked at me seriously. He's got this collection of weapons in our basement. He calls it his alien preparedness kit. He makes us practice drills and everything. I blinked all 4 of my eyes in sequence. Your father prepared specifically for alien abduction. Aha. He says it's only a matter of time before you guys tried something. Tommy finished his ice cream and wiped his hands on his clothing. He's going to be so excited when I tell him I was right. Before I could respond, Zorblex returned. The return pod is ready, Captain. Excellent, I said, gathering my composure. Tommy, we are going to take you home now. When we get there, perhaps it would be best if you didn't mention this little adventure to your father. Tommy's face split into a wide grin that displayed far too many teeth for my comfort. I will think about it. As we escorted Tommy to the return pod, our ship's alarms blared once again. Proximity alert, announced the computer. Multiple high-velocity objects approaching from Earth's surface. What? I rushed to the command console. That's impossible. Earth doesn't have. The view screen activated automatically, showing several sleek vessels rising rapidly from Earth's atmosphere. Their design was unlike anything in our database, but the weapon ports along their hulls were unmistakable. What are those? Zorblex asked, his voice barely audible. I told you, Tommy said, not sounding particularly concerned. Dad has friends. A new transmission cut through our communication system. Attention alien vessel, said a deep, gravelly voice. This is Colonel Parker of Earth's Special Extraterrestrial Response Division. You have my son. You have exactly 1 minute to return him before we open fire. I looked down at Tommy, who smiled and waved at the screen. Hi, Dad. Dad. Well, Zorblex had finally done it. After years of barely competent service aboard my vessel, he'd managed to not only violate the Prime Directive, but also potentially start an interstellar war with the most terrifying species in the galaxy. And somehow I had a feeling this was only the beginning of our problems. 1 minute to respond? Is he serious? Zorblex whimpered, all 3 of his eye stalks now fully retracted in terror. Humans don't bluff, I replied, already calculating our dismal survival odds. Tommy, please tell your father we are returning you immediately. Tommy, now sitting cross-legged on our command console and somehow hacking into our propulsion system with nothing but his tiny fingers, looked up. What do I get if I help you? Unbelievable. The child was leveraging our desperate situation for personal gain. Again, anything. Just tell him we are friendly. Tommy nodded thoughtfully. Okay, give me the comm. I quickly transferred control to the console where Tommy sat. The human child cleared his throat dramatically. Dad, these aliens are super nice. The captain looks like a giant purple octopus, and his friend has eyeballs on stalks. They gave me ice cream and showed me how their spaceship works. Not the diplomatic message I'd hoped for, but at least it established we hadn't harmed him. Colonel Parker's voice boomed through our ship. Tommy, are you hurt? Nope, I'm having fun. Can I stay a little longer? Please. I'm learning how to fly a spaceship. There was an uncomfortably long pause. 45 seconds remaining. Colonel Parker finally responded, completely unmoved by his offspring's enthusiasm. So much for the negotiating power of human children. Sir, we sincerely apologize for this misunderstanding. I interjected, attempting to sound both authoritative and contrite. My crew member acted without authorization. We are preparing a return pod now. Names and species designation, demanded the colonel. I am Captain Vexnar of the Trilaxian Stellar Survey Corps. My associate is Zorblex, a Peluvidian research assistant. And why exactly did you take my son from the Westbrook Elementary School playground during recess? Zorblex stepped forward, trembling. For scientific observation. Purely academic interest. I had no hostile intent. I glared at him with all four of my eyes. Zorblex believed humans were a pre-FTL species worthy of study. He was clearly mistaken on multiple counts. Another voice joined the transmission. Permission to obliterate them, sir? This voice was female, sharp with barely controlled rage. Hold fire, Lieutenant Ramirez, Colonel Parker responded. For now. The view screen expanded to show Colonel Parker in what appeared to be a military command center. Surrounding him were at least 20 humans in matching uniforms, all staring at us with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright hostility. The technology visible in the background was far more advanced than anything Earth should possess according to our outdated records. 30 seconds, the colonel stated flatly. Start explaining how humanity's existence was kept hidden from your databases. We thought you were primitive, Zorblex blurted. All our intelligence suggested humans were confined to their solar system, obsessed with social media and arguing about entertainment. I heard what might have been a snort of laughter from someone in the Earth Command Center. An effective cover, Colonel Parker replied with chilling calmness. While your civilizations watched our cat videos, we have been studying every alien craft that entered our space. Your technology is interesting but not particularly impressive. Tommy giggled. Dad, their navigation system uses binary quantum computations. It's practically ancient. I stared at the child in horror. How could he possibly understand our navigation systems? Colonel Parker nodded. Good observation, son. Your Aunt Vivian will want to hear about that. The same Aunt Vivian who works at NASA? Tommy asked excitedly. That's classified, Tommy, Colonel Parker responded, his expression softening momentarily when addressing his son before hardening again as he turned back to us. 20 seconds. The return pod is ready, I announced, desperate to end this confrontation. We can transport Tommy back immediately. Negative, Colonel Parker replied. We will dock with your vessel and retrieve him personally. Is that really necessary? Zorblex asked, his voice rising to a squeak. 10 seconds. We accept. Please dock with our vessel. I shouted. The transmission cut off. Our sensors indicated the Earth vessels were moving into position around us, effectively creating a blockade. This is very, very bad, I whispered to Zorblex. They are going to board us. Maybe they just want their offspring back, Zorblex suggested weakly. I gestured frantically at our surroundings. Look at what Tommy did to our ship in less than an hour. Imagine what fully grown, military-trained humans could do. Tommy had somehow disassembled our tertiary life support system and was reconfiguring it into what appeared to be a miniature particle accelerator. "Look, I made a science project," he announced proudly, holding up the device. It hummed with ominous energy. "Please don't touch anything else," I begged the human child. Our docking bay sensors activated. "A human vessel is attempting to establish connection," the computer announced. "Allow docking," I commanded, seeing no alternative. "Will I be in trouble when Dad gets here?" Tommy asked, suddenly looking concerned. "I think we will be the ones in trouble," Zorblex replied glumly. "No kidding," Tommy agreed. "Dad's got this thing about protecting me. Mom says he's pathologically protective, whatever that means." The ship shuddered as the human vessel completed docking procedures with surprising efficiency. "Hey, who taught them how to dock with alien technology?" Zorblex whispered. "Probably the last unfortunate aliens who encountered humans," I replied grimly. Our ship's internal sensors indicated multiple life forms entering through the docking bay. The readings were confusing. The humans appeared to be carrying technology that partially blocked our scanning capabilities. They have developed counter-surveillance technology specifically designed to confuse alien sensors, I realized aloud. They have been preparing for interspecies conflict for who knows how long. "We are so doomed," Zorblex moaned. The door to our command center slid open, revealing 6 humans in formidable-looking armor. They moved with practiced precision, quickly securing the room with weapons I didn't recognize but instinctively feared. Colonel Parker entered last. Unlike his soldiers, he wore a simple uniform with minimal armor. His face bore a striking resemblance to Tommy's, though considerably more weathered and significantly less amused. Tommy launched himself at the colonel, who caught him effortlessly with one arm while keeping his other hand on his weapon. "Hey, buddy," Colonel Parker said, his voice suddenly warm. "Having an adventure?" "The coolest. They have this weird food machine that can make anything, and their computer talks, and their ship runs on quantum fluctuations instead of traditional combustion. It's so inefficient." The colonel ruffled Tommy's hair affectionately before his expression hardened as he looked at us. "So you are the aliens who thought abducting a human child was a good idea." It was all his idea. I pointed accusingly at Zorblex, who had turned a mortified shade of green. "Regardless of whose idea it was, you are the captain," Colonel Parker replied. He turned to one of his soldiers. "Lieutenant Ramirez, secure the aliens." A human female stepped forward, placing restraints on Zorblex and me with practiced efficiency. Her expression suggested she'd be happier using her weapon than restraints. "What happens now?" I asked, trying to maintain some dignity despite the circumstances. Colonel Parker consulted a device on his wrist. "Now we discuss terms." "Terms?" Zorblex repeated hopefully. "You violated sovereign human territory and abducted a citizen, specifically my son," Colonel Parker stated. "Under normal protocols, we'd be authorized to dismantle your vessel and take you both back for detailed interrogation." The way he said interrogation sent shivers through all my appendages. However, he continued, "Tommy seems to think you weren't being deliberately malicious, just astoundingly stupid." "That's correct. We are stupid, not malicious." Zorblex agreed enthusiastically. "I would have slapped him if my appendages weren't restrained." "Lucky for you, we have been looking for an opportunity to establish formal diplomatic contact with the Trilaxian Stellar Survey Corps," Colonel Parker continued. "This situation, while unfortunate, presents such an opportunity." I blinked in confusion. "You want to establish diplomatic relations? After we accidentally abducted your offspring?" "Diplomatic relations would be preferable to the alternative," Colonel Parker replied, his hand resting meaningfully on his weapon. "We accept. Whatever terms you offer." Zorblex blurted. One of the human soldiers snickered. Lieutenant Ramirez shot them a silencing glare. "Here's what's going to happen," Colonel Parker said. "You will be escorted back to Earth as our guests. There you will meet with representatives from Earth's Extraterrestrial Relations Department. You will share information about your species, technology, and galactic position. In exchange, we won't disintegrate your molecules. That seems fair, I managed to respond. Dad, can they stay at our house? Tommy asked excitedly. My room's big enough. And I want to show them my telescope. Absolutely not, Colonel Parker replied firmly. They will be staying at a secure facility where they can't cause any more interplanetary incidents. AW, Tommy pouted, displaying the fearsome, persuasive expression I'd already come to dread. Don't give me that look, Thomas James Parker, the colonel said, though his voice lacked conviction. These aliens kidnapped you. They are not house guests. But they are nice. Just dumb, Tommy insisted. Plus, their quantum regulator is totally busted. I could help fix it. Colonel Parker raised an eyebrow. You have been examining their propulsion systems? Tommy nodded enthusiastically. Their whole setup is super inefficient. I figured out how to boost their quantum yield by like 40% just by reconfiguring their containment matrix. The colonel exchanged glances with Lieutenant Ramirez, who looked both impressed and disturbed. Sir, she said quietly, if he's already understanding their technology. But Colonel Parker nodded thoughtfully. Tommy, how would you like to be part of the official First Contact science team? Tommy's eyes widened. For real? Like officially? You have already demonstrated aptitude for xenotechnology, Colonel Parker replied. And technically, you were first to make contact. This is awesome. Tommy exclaimed, bouncing with excitement. Wait until I tell Skylar and Mason at school. This is classified, son, Colonel Parker reminded him. No telling your friends. Not even for show and tell? Especially not for show and tell. While this family negotiation continued, I leaned toward Zorblex. Are you understanding what's happening? They are treating this like a minor scheduling issue rather than a potential interstellar incident. I think Zorblex whispered back that humans are far more accustomed to extraterrestrial contact than our records suggested. So we weren't the first aliens to make this mistake, I concluded grimly. Definitely not, Lieutenant Ramirez interjected, apparently having excellent hearing. You are actually the third this month. The Zorblunians at least had the sense to observe from orbit. Zorblunians were here? Zorblex gasped. They are supposed to be the most advanced reconnaissance species in the quadrant. They were, Lieutenant Ramirez replied with a smirk. We have got their ship in our research facility now. Fascinating propulsion system, much more elegant than yours. I felt a profound existential dread settling over me. The humans had not only detected and captured other alien observers, but were actively studying and presumably reverse engineering their technology. How long have humans been aware of extraterrestrial civilizations? I asked, almost afraid to hear the answer. Colonel Parker checked his timepiece casually. Officially? About 70 Earth years. Unofficially? Much longer. And you have kept this secret from the galactic community how exactly? Simple, Colonel Parker replied. We let your observers see exactly what we wanted them to see. A planet full of divided nations, preoccupied with trivial entertainment and pointless conflicts. Meanwhile, we established a unified planetary defense system and studied every alien craft that came within range. The perfect camouflage, Zorblex murmured. Hide in plain sight. It helps that most alien civilizations are incredibly arrogant, Lieutenant Ramirez added. You see a species without obvious interstellar capability and immediately assume they are primitive, never considering it might be a tactical choice. Colonel Parker nodded to his team. Secure the ship. We are taking it back to base for analysis. Wait, this ship contains the only records of our expedition. I protested. Don't worry, Captain Vexnar, Colonel Parker replied. You will be allowed to send a message to your superiors explaining your extended absence. Under supervision, of course. What message would you suggest? That we have been captured by a species that was supposed to be pre-FTL. I'd suggest, Colonel Parker said, his expression deadly serious, that you inform your people that humanity is now officially entering the galactic stage, and we are particularly interested in discussing the concept of galactic law regarding the abduction of sentient beings. Tommy tugged on his father's uniform. Dad, can I push the button to launch their ship? Not this time, buddy. But you promised next time aliens came, I could push the button. Colonel Parker sighed. That was the self-destruct button, Tommy, which we are not using because these aliens are cooperating. Oh, can I fly their ship then? We will discuss it later, Colonel Parker replied, in the universal parental tone that meant absolutely not. As the human soldiers began systematically examining our vessel, I turned to Zorblex, who looked simultaneously terrified and fascinated. You realize what this means? I whispered. That humans have been playing a galaxy-wide practical joke for decades? Zorblex replied. No, I said. It means humanity has been quietly preparing for galactic warfare while the rest of us thought they were watching videos of small animals doing amusing things. Tommy overheard us and giggled. We can do both. I learned how to disassemble alien tech from YouTube. Dad posts tutorials using hypothetical scenarios, but it's really stuff from his work. Colonel Parker cleared his throat loudly. Tommy, that's enough sharing of classified information. Sorry, Dad, Tommy replied, not looking remotely sorry. As we were escorted from our command center, I caught a glimpse of the Earth through one of our viewports. From space, it looked deceptively peaceful blue oceans, swirling white clouds, green and brown landmasses. Who would have guessed that this seemingly unremarkable planet harbored a species sophisticated enough to fool the entire galactic community? Your planet is beautiful, I remarked to Lieutenant Ramirez, attempting some form of diplomacy. It's home, she replied simply, and we protect what's ours. Will your leaders really be interested in diplomatic relations? I asked. Or is this just a pretext to extract information? Lieutenant Ramirez considered me thoughtfully. Humanity is divided on how to approach galactic society. Some want isolation, others want engagement. This incident might actually help the pro-engagement faction. So we might have accidentally done something positive? Let's not get carried away, she replied, but there was the slightest hint of amusement in her voice. As we boarded the human vessel, I was struck by their technology. It didn't match anything in our database, incorporating elements from various galactic civilizations, but with distinctly human innovations. They hadn't just observed alien technology, they'd improved upon it. Tommy bounded ahead of us, pointing out features of the human ship to Zorblex, who listened with a mixture of terror and fascination. And this is a gravity modulator, but Dad's team reconfigured it to work on multiple frequencies so it can counteract different alien gravity settings. Tommy explained proudly. Your offspring is remarkably knowledgeable, I said to Colonel Parker. He takes after his mother, Colonel Parker replied. She's the head of xenotechnology at our main research facility. So abducting your son was possibly the worst choice Zorblex could have made, I concluded. Pretty much, Colonel Parker agreed. Though to be fair, there are no good choices when it comes to abducting humans. As the human ship detached from ours and began its descent toward Earth, I contemplated our future. We were now unwitting ambassadors to a species that had been secretly observing the galaxy for decades, accumulating knowledge and technology while presenting a facade of primitive simplicity. Do you think they will ever trust us? Zorblex asked quietly. I watched Tommy chattering excitedly with the human soldiers, already forming bonds with beings from another world. Perhaps, I replied. If we are very lucky and very careful, this might be the beginning of something rather than the end. And if we are not lucky? I glanced at Colonel Parker, who was watching us with the calculating gaze of a predator assessing potential threats. Then we have just given humanity their formal introduction to galactic society, and the galaxy is entirely unprepared for what's coming. Tommy bounced over to us, his energy seemingly inexhaustible. Hey, Captain Vexnar, when we get to Earth, can I show you my science fair project? I built a miniature fusion reactor. My teacher said it wasn't school appropriate, but I think you will like it. I looked at this small human child who had single-handedly dismantled half our ship's systems and apparently built a fusion reactor for educational purposes. Yes, Tommy, I replied, feeling a strange mixture of dread and anticipation. I believe the galaxy would be very interested in your science projects. As Earth grew larger in the view screen, I couldn't help but wonder how many other supposedly primitive species were out there, quietly watching and waiting, preparing for their moment to step onto the galactic stage. And I wondered, with no small amount of anxiety, what would happen when they did. After all, if humanity was any indication, the galaxy's definition of primitive might need some serious reconsideration.